She's beauty, she's grace, and she'll blast off your frickin' face. A decade after the release of what is arguably the best Metroid game of all time, we now have a figure of one of Samus's most iconic power suit designs. Wait, they're making a fourth one?
Oh, yes.
Metroid has been one of my favorite Nintendo IPs since I was a little kid. It definitely feels underutilized in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, The Legend of Zelda and Mario are fantastic, but Metroid could use a little more in the limelight, you know? For those of you who don't know, and I wouldn't blame you because this game came out when I was 10 years old, holy frick. Metroid Prime 3, and by extension Metroid Prime Trilogy, was a Wii game in a series that reimagined Metroid as a first-person shooter instead of just Metroidvania. It blended the first-person shooter mechanics, excellent motion controls, and all the elements that made previous Metroid games great, such as storytelling through exploration. These are considered some of the best Metroid games ever made, along with Metroid Fusion and, the 5 other Metroid games that aren't Federation Force and other M. But enough yammering, let's take a look at the figure. The painting and sculpting on this figure is astounding. This is the figure that I dreamed of having as a kid. The accuracy of the sculpt, along with the clean paint job, makes this figure look like it was ripped right out of my TV. I'm going to be a little pedantic here and point out that this design of Samus's Varia suit did technically appear in Metroid Prime 2 first, but seeing as Metroid Prime 2 is like the Batman Arkham Origins of the trilogy, I don't think anybody cares. Except for the multiplayer. The multiplayer for Prime 2 was boss!
No! No!
No!
My hands
No!
all over
No!
you.
No! No!
Yes!
Hit me! Hit me! I dare you! Stop trying to hit me and
Got him.
of all the times for the invulnerability to run out.
This figure doesn't have many accessories, but Good Smile made the one she has count. There's this alternate part for her arm cannon that makes it look like she's charging up her beam or firing a missile. The thumbs up is fun, but I can't find too many situations in character where she would use it besides getting knocked down and saying, "I'm good!" or recreating your other M trauma.
Any objections, lady?
Any objections, Adam?
Her spread out hand is really good for certain action poses, and her other hand is really good for more neutral ones. One thing to note is you can put the Energy Blast accessories from the other M version of this figure, but it's really difficult to get them in. Be sure to use warm water, or just feel free to mod the cannon to have a larger peg hole. Trust me on this one. And of course, it wouldn't be Samus if there was no Morph Ball mode. This accessory can be plugged into the stand, and the outer shell can spin independently of the inner ring. Woohoo! Actually, honestly, that's pretty cool. Now let's take a look at how she poses. She can move her head side to side, can look up and down a decent amount, all things considered, punch like a moody teenager. Her football pads can move to cover any sort of gaps the shoulders have. Bicep rotation. The arm cannon can only bend to about 90 degrees. Does this count? You can spin the wrist. You can also move it back and forth, but it's a lot easier if you move the joint out a little. The waist has a nice side to side. An adjustable armor plate to allow for a really nice ab crunch, and an arcing back. She can do a really nice kick as well as move her leg back really well. Some adjustable armor plating on the hips allow for an okay spread. Full collapse at the knee. Her foot can go up that far and down that far. Please consult a doctor if your foot pivots this much. And a toe bend. The posability on this figure is fantastic considering the constraints of her armor design. Be careful when posing her hips, however, because if you don't pay attention, these get a little interesting. And no matter how much you fiddle with it, there are some poses where the hip gap is nearly unavoidable. That's pretty much the only major flaw with this figure. She's definitely one of the taller Figmas out there. For reference, here's Revoltech Gunbuster, Figma Samus Aran, the other M version, Figma Skyward Sword Link, and the Masterpiece Soundwave. And the moment you've all waited for, the final verdict. I absolutely love this figure. It looks like it was pulled straight from the game after the graphics were polished to modern standards. The posability is great, and while not the absolute best, it's plenty to pull off dynamic poses. The main thing keeping this from being a triple S tier figure is how freaking difficult it is to use the Energy Blast accessories from the other M version. Seriously, would it have killed them to make the peg the same size? I would definitely recommend this figure to any Metroid fans, and even Nintendo fans in general. This is arguably the best Samus design thus far, and it makes for an excellent matchup with other Nintendo figures.
Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS.